what is offered to me outside of the church? How am I going to make a difference out of the church, or how will I be able to bring purpose into my life? And I ultimately came to the conclusion that I have found my purpose, within the church.
In today's episode, we're going to meet Arlene, a young lady that is passionate for Jesus and loves working for the church. With you, Arlene, and welcome to Tea Talks. Arlene, thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be part of this podcast. I'm really excited for the opportunity to getting to know you a little better.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be here. I was really excited when I got the message. I had never heard of Tea Talk, so I was really excited to watch the videos and everything.
That is cool. I am glad. Yeah, it's kind of new, so it's going to take time for people to get to know. But the whole goal is to get to know young adults and to give opportunities for people to understand the struggles, the life of a young adult, and help bridge the gap that we find between different generations,
Yeah.
So with that in mind, let's start with your background. Tell me a little bit about you, what you do, and your passions.
Oh, well, my name is Arlene. I am a college student, and of course, I'm Christian. Right now, I work kind of in the medical side. I want to go into the medical field, and I really enjoy spending time with my family. I enjoy painting, coloring. I really enjoy being outside in nature. My parents are big gardening. They're very into gardening, so I really enjoy that in the summer because they plant a lot of flowers. I'm a part of my church's youth department, and I really enjoy singing.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So you're part of your church youth department.
I am. This is my first year ever.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. But it seems like, were you always at church? Were you raised in church?
Yeah, I was actually born in the church. So my parents, they were raised Christian. My mom's side, her parents were Christian. My dad's side, his parents, they converted. Mm-hmm. So he was brought up pretty much Christian because he was very young when they decided to follow Christ. So I was always in the church. It was always very, it was a part of me. It has always been a part of me.
So that was not like a question. It was just, that's the way it was.
Yeah. It's very natural. It's all I've known.
Got it. Was ever a time that you questioned, like, is this really what I believe? Is this what my parents forced on me?
Yes, of course, like any other teenager or adolescent. I was kind of angsty in high school, and I always had all these doubts. I think especially during the pandemic, I had a lot of doubts. I think I went through kind of a very hard mental, a kind of negative mental health episode where I was like, is this really what I believe in? Is this what I should follow? Why do I believe in this, and why should I believe in this? But I think what really helped me was kind of me personalizing it. So not just looking at the church as a whole and as this building and this place where all these people gather, but it's why do I go to church? Why do I go every Saturday, and what do I do there? So it was very hard, but I think I got through it.
I like this because you were actually conscious of what you were going through.
Yeah, so I was very aware. Even now, sometimes I have to question, why am I in the church? What am I doing here? And I have to remind myself, I believe in this life, and I believe in what God offers. I believe in the plans and the purpose that he has in store for me, and I believe that I'm doing the right thing.
So at this point, you would say that this was no longer your parents' religion, but it became your beliefs?
Yes. So I was, one of the repetitive thoughts that I had was kind of, this is a routine for me. Going to church, it's just something that I do every weekend. I just do it because I know that I have to, and my parents do it. But I realized that I do enjoy, going to church, and it's just not it's not just, oh, my parents make me do it, but it's more of something I love the presence that I feel when I'm there and when I'm worshiping and when I'm singing and when I'm, hearing the pastor or whoever speaking the sermon. I enjoy it. You know, I do believe and I have faith in everything that I hear and learn.
So pretty much you can say that your faith evolved and is no longer your parents' faith anymore. Now it's your own faith. Now in this new journey that you are at, okay, now it's your faith. What are the
Yeah.
challenges that you're finding?
Having, this constant, insecure and especially strong relationship with God. I find it sometimes very difficult to kind of like study, or sometimes when in the morning, if I'm going to school or work, I will forget, to pray or to have like a morning devotional. So I have to remind myself that it's not my parents that are going to be reminding me or saying, it's time for you to do this. I have to do it myself. Sometimes it gets a little overwhelming with school and work, but I always try to make time. But it's a constant effort that I have to give on my part. It's not just I believe in this, so I will have this relationship with God, but I have to be active in it.
So it's just keeping yourself motivated to do the
Right.
things
Yeah.
now as a young adult, not only like a little child that your parents made you do it, but
Right.
now as a young adult, you wanted to do it. But I know life is busy and sometimes it's difficult, but just keeping yourself motivated.
Mm-hmm.
How about in the ministry that you're doing in the church? I want to talk a little bit about that. How how has this position, this leadership role that has been given to you helped your spiritual growth?
I think it's definitely involved me more in the church. It's allowed me to interact with very, different people, not just from my church, but from other churches and other places. And it allows me to learn from them. Um, but it also allows me to kind of explore more into what God offers and all his promises and kind of study more. So, like when I'm making programs, for the afternoon for YA, I kind of have to say, okay, what do I want to talk about? What is the message that I want to bring to the congregation this evening? And more importantly, other young adults in my church. What do I want them to learn, or what do I want them to think about?
And that pretty much pushes you, forces you
Right.
to learn because you're preparing for the event for other people. So that
Correct.
helps you develop your own spirituality.
Right. So I'm right there along with them learning, learning about these new topics or themes that I want to talk about and introduce.
As a young leader, how is your relationship with the other older leaders in the church?
I think it's very it's not bad. I think sometimes it gets a little difficult because I feel like since I'm still young, I might not be taken seriously, or sometimes I feel like I might be undermined because of my age and because they have more life experience than me, right? So I might feel like I'm not as wise or as smart when it comes to certain decision making. But in the end, I do feel like I have a great support system.
That's good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
even though I have all these fears and get all this anxiety, I do feel like I have a good support system, not only from the other subdirectors and director in my youth department, but from other directors in other departments.
Got it. How important in your position now in the church, how important is the role of a mentor?
I think it's very important, especially when you're first learning how to execute a new task or position. Like myself, this is my first year being a YA subdirector, so it's very new. Although I've watched my parents be directors in this department, I still feel like there's a really big growth curve. So I do think being a mentor or having a mentor, someone to guide you, is very important.
Yes, I believe that the role of a mentor is crucial, but I love to ask young people because one of the misconceptions that we older people have is that the young people don't want to have anything to do with us, you know. And what I have learned, that is the opposite. Young people want
Yeah.
mentors.
Yeah, I sometimes I find, working by myself or sometimes thinking of ideas by myself is really difficult, and I look to having someone guide me and help me. I think I ask my dad for help a lot. He used to be a YA director, and I saw him introduce new concepts and make new changes to the program, things that we still have in place today. And I saw him kind of turn around our YA department and kind of get more young adults interested and more active in participating. So I think I always look to him. He's kind of become a mentor for me.
I really appreciate hearing you say that you're working with your dad, because
Yeah.
I can only imagine that how rewarding it is for your parents and even for you to be able to work with your dad and to be able to have like the older generation mentoring you, but like working as a family too.
Yeah, I love it. A lot of my family, we all are Adventist, or we are all Christian. Um, and so for me, I think it's a very big blessing that I, get to ask my dad, hey, can you help me with this? Or hey, what do you think about this? Give me your opinion. What would you do, or what do you think?
Yeah, and a lot of young people wish they could have that. So I believe that is something that it's very well appreciated by
Yeah.
your family and everything. That is great. So from what I'm hearing from you, church is important for you. Church is the place to be. I did, from the pandemic, you mentioned that you had a little time that you had questions about God, but did you ever had questions about church itself? Like, should I be in the church? Should I not be in the church? Did you ever had those thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's pretty normal, to question why you're here doing this, and um everyone questions, their identity and who I want to be. And you get to a point in your um adolescence or when you're a teenager that you're searching, for who you want to be. And I think that when I asked myself those questions, I really looked not only in my childhood, to see why I'm in the church and why I want to be in the church, but I also looked to see what what is offered to me outside of the church. How am I going to make a difference out of the church, or how will I be able to bring purpose into my life? And I ultimately came to the conclusion that I have found my purpose, within the church. I believe that the church will always, be a pillar of community and faith for me. And so I remained in the church.
That is incredible,
Yeah.
because what I see the most today is that young people don't care about God, and especially they will say, "I'm spiritual, but I'm not
Yes, I have
religious."
heard that. And I also have thought that about myself.
Mhm.
Even like talking with my coworkers, they've always said, like I consider myself a spiritual person because I'm not, religious. I don't go to church. And I've questioned myself about that too. Like, am I a spiritual person? Obviously, you believe in this God, higher being, but like you don't attend a church, or you don't have, a religious community. But I think if you're spiritual and if you believe, in God, how could you not be religious? How could you not search for him and want to learn more about him?
I think it's a lot because we don't really understand the concept of what religion is supposed to be. But I cannot even blame the people outside of the church, because unfortunately, Christians have not acted the best way throughout history.
Yeah.
And we have scared a lot of people away from churches. So people now, they're like, when they say they're spiritual, but they don't like to go to church, they don't like religion, basically what they're saying is, I believe in God, but I didn't like the
But
behavior of the people in the
right.
church, right?
Right. So maybe they're not liking the institution,
Yeah.
And completely understand
Yeah.
that because there's a lot of stereotypes and generalizations, but I think it comes down to an individual to go out and seek, their own religious experience and their own religious journey.
And give it a chance, right?
Right.
Because you found a church that it's pretty much rare. You found a church that have young adults, that support young adults, that give young adults the opportunity to lead, like you're saying that you're leading in the church. So basically, it's like giving the opportunity to, hey, maybe this church didn't work, but finding the church that will
Yeah.
work for them, right? What advice would you give to this young person who is struggling with the same thoughts that you had? I don't know if I believe in God. I don't know if I need church. What do you say to this young person?
I would say that it's okay if you're feeling this way. Completely normal. You're not the only person who's had these thoughts and these feelings, but I think you shouldn't ignore it. I think you need to dive deep, get to the root of this. Why do I think this? Why do I feel like this? And then say, okay, have I grown up, if I've grown up in the church, what were my memories like, Ask, talk to an older person, someone who is willing to help you and guide you, someone that you feel safe with, but also, personally seek out these answers that you're looking for.
This was great. Thank you so much for taking the time to express the things that you went through and why do you feel that the church is so important for young people, and for being this young lady that is inspiring
Thank
for
you.
what you're doing and how much you love Jesus.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.